What's up, you guys? This is your girl Megan. Welcome back to the Hood Astro Queen, to all of my returning subscribers. But if this is your first time joining me on today, be sure to hit that subscribe button on your way in because you know you want to. So also, okay, before we get started with the video, make sure y'all are hitting that notification bell as well. That way you will be alerted whenever I make a new post. All right, so now that that's out the way, today I'm coming to y'all once again with another celebrity birth chart reading. Now, I wanted to talk about Evelyn Lozada. She is a member, a long-standing member, one of the original members of Basketball Wives, the show produced by Shawnee O'Neal on VH1. And I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it's my guilty pleasure. I definitely I still like Basketball Wives, and I know a lot of people have conflicting opinions. Like, some people feel like, it's just getting out of control, it's ratchet, it's the dumpster part of like television, and they don't accurately depict black women, which I'm not necessarily arguing against, but the shit is entertaining, okay? And just on a personal level, I don't care for Evelyn, despite the fact that she is a Sag sister, okay? And I do typically like to give Sagittarians the benefit of the doubt, okay? Because I'm a Sag. However, okay, over the years, people have watched her. I would like to say grow, but like, she slick has not grown past the TV show. She's dated many men, majorly in the sports arena, so like athletes and things of that nature. And she's just been linked to a lot of famous men, but she is most known for her behavior, her mean girl temperament, fighting, things of that nature, okay? I mean, the most recent season of Basketball Wives is no different. I just finished watching the most recent episode. I think it was from last week. And I mean, there's the whole storyline between she and OG, who's a newer girl on there. And I mean, Evelyn is basically continuing with her mean girl behavior, typical Evelyn Lozada. But I've always wanted to take a look at her chart just to see what else she has going on, okay? Because I can't get jiggy with it. I can't really do her. So I pulled up her chart and I found some very interesting things. So without further ado, let's go ahead and take a look. So Evelyn Lozada was born on December 10th, 1975 in New York, okay, which makes her a Sagittarius sun, Pisces moon. And she does check off a lot of Sagittarian traits, such as her being athletic, her being fun-loving, kind of easygoing when she's not keeping up drama, of course. She does seem to be very charismatic, when she's around her friends, and jovial. She can be a jokester, and just all of those different Sagittarian qualities. And that's cool. That's all fine and dandy. However, her Pisces moon, which I thought was very interesting because Pisces and Sagittarius are both ruled by Jupiter. And Jupiter is the planet of excess. And there's no coincidence behind the fact that both Sagittarius and Jupiter have the tendency to get carried away with things, okay? Piscean moon individuals typically have issues as it pertains to scamming, theft, fraud, lying, and deceit. Not to say that if you're a Pisces moon, you're automatically going to be all of these things. However, the way it can manifest, I mean, it can play out by way of maybe your family. It can also manifest through the mother, as the moon does govern the mother. So maybe you have a relationship with your mom that's either very much cherished, or it can just be a shit show. You could be victimized by your mother or have a mother that is troubled in some type of way. I'm not really sure about Evelyn's early life as far as her upbringing and her relationship with her family, but that could be a possibility as well. Also, Pisces moon individuals have this type of attraction. Well, and it could go both ways because the Pisces archetype kind of creates like a twofold personality. So you can be the type that's like the hippy dippy type Pisces, or you can be the type of Pisces that's attracted to glitz and glamour. However, both types have this inability to really connect with reality, and it's almost like they're delusional a little bit, and they lack practicality. I would personally categorize Evelyn as the latter type, the glitz, the glamorous type. And with her Pisces moon, she's longing for a life that's outside of the ordinary. Pisces moon individuals can also come from an upbringing where perhaps they grew up poor, or maybe they experienced near homelessness, which makes sense for Evelyn because, like, her mother, I remember when they filmed the episode of her going back home to Brooklyn, I think that's where she's from. Her mom lived in like a walk-in closet, dog. Like, the family, like, they literally come from humble beginnings. Now, she did get some flack because people were like, well, if you got so much money, why you don't move your mama out the hood? Type of thing. But, that's neither here nor there. So, yes, a lot of times these people can go on through life and kind of like have that affect their subconscious, the fact that they grew up with a lot of lack, or feeling like they were not insulated enough growing up in monetary matters. Pisces moon individuals also carry a tendency to be self-delusional. Like I said, dishonesty is another huge trait of this, and double dealing. They also have issues with maintaining proper boundaries, and particularly with women, as the moon does govern women. And even children, because the moon does deal with your ability to parent from like a motherhood perspective. So, and that, I thought that was kind of interesting as well, because her relationship with her daughter, what's her daughter's name? I can't remember, but a lot of people criticized it because the daughter, in so many words, grew up to be a replica of Evelyn. Like, she's a video vixen, and it's almost like they operate as sisters as opposed to mother and daughter. So that could definitely be a side effect of Evelyn's Pisces moon. Also, Pisces moon individuals can, with that theme of victimization, they can victimize themselves. There could also be a tendency towards escapism. And of course, in like very extreme cases, it could manifest in abusing substances and alcohol. But literally anything could be an escapist or used as an escape. Like, it could be music, it can be whatever. Also, Pisces moon individuals are naturally artistically inclined. So there's that. However, in Evelyn's situation, her sun is squaring her moon, which does reinforce this theme of victimization, as it does produce somebody who can be victimized by men. It points towards her having a lack of boundaries with her dating partners, and it can naturally make her a liar. Also, with sun squaring, or sun representing your children, it does reinforce her having a lack of boundaries with Shanice, that's her name, her daughter Shanice, which can produce a host of other issues in and of itself. And sun square moon, just as an aspect, does deal with somebody whose emotional patterns and their emotional subconscious conflicts with their overall identity. And with Evelyn, I think it's the fact that, that Pisces moon being all about victimization, it's delusional, and it's naturally prone towards lying and being deceitful, and even when she's not necessarily trying to be. But it does come to a head in conflict with her being a Sagittarius, which is it might be why she doesn't act like a Sag, like a stereotypical Sag in certain situations, because Sag is all about being truthful. It's all about speaking your truth, and a lot of her ability to be truthful and escaping that kind of like victim mindset is going to be, it's going to be handicapped or debilitated by her Pisces moon. It also deals with her being like either imprisoned or feeling trapped by her relationships. It could even point towards her feeling trapped by motherhood. So that's kind of interesting. It also points towards her being attracted to dysfunctional men and serving as a sort of like a rehabilitation center for wayward men, because that Pisces energy does, it's very charitable and it's very selfless, and it does want to give and give and give, and more often it does it to its own detriment, which is why she ends up with the short end of the stick in almost all of her relationships. And it also points towards scandal by way of men, which is something that's also has been apparent with Evelyn. Now, her moon is also squaring her Sagittarius Mercury, which it reinforces her being delusional for sure, out of touch with reality, but it can also make her irrational and almost to the point of like, I would even say like borderline, like on some personality disorder type shit. I'm not diagnosing her, but like moon and negative aspects to Mercury can just be like a shit show, because your Mercury is your ability to be rational to begin with. It has nothing to do with emotions. It's literally like your ability to use logic. And then the moon, especially if you're a Pisces moon, or if your moon is water based, it's literally like intuitive, emotional, and like the two just don't mix. They just don't mix. Her moon is also squaring her Gemini Mars, which says a lot about her behavior on and off the show, because it produces somebody who can be very volatile, combative, especially in their relationships with women. It can make her very competitive when it comes to other women, including her daughter. It can give her a trigger hair temperament. It could produce somebody who keeps up drama, especially that Gemini Mars. And it does explain a lot of her behavior as far as there being this kind of duplicit nature. Like, it's like she talks out of both sides of her neck. And that's very much moon squaring Gemini Mars, because it could create somebody who literally does one thing 1 minute, but they might say something else. Or like, for example, perfect example for those of y'all who watch the show. This past episode, Evelyn was basically, she got into it with OG because she said that OG needed to stay out of family business as it pertains to Cece and Christine. However, if you think back a few years on the show, she almost came to physical blows with Jackie because allegedly she had jumped into Jackie's family business. And this was around the time that Jackie's estranged daughter went public and said that Jackie, wasn't seeing her. She wasn't seeing her grandchild, that the grandchild had got like 3rd-degree burns, and Jackie had not paid for any of the injuries or had not come to see the child. And it was like the whole storyline was centered around the fact that Evelyn was supposedly seeing Jackie's daughter on the side and, giving her money and taking information from her and being nosy. And she had ended up buying the book that Jackie's daughter wrote and was like reading it. I mean, just the whole, like, just all up in family business. But that's a perfect example of that Gemini Mars. Like, you're saying one thing, but you do another. You're literally talking out of both sides of your neck. Almost like you have two different people. Like, that duplicit nature, that two modes of being. Like, it's crazy. Also, having her moon squaring her Mars could deal with her telling other people secrets. Okay, starting shit when she's bored. It can deal with somebody who's very argumentative and just combative. But it can also, particularly that Gemini Mars, makes her like a great, clapback artist. And Evelyn is known for her clapbacks. Like when she got into it with Tammy, you are non-motherfucking factor. Like, it can create somebody who has a way with words. And because Gemini is also a mutable sign, it can get very volatile very quick. Okay, so we're talking about like outbursts, like violent outbursts, and they can be particularly like very violent. Okay, not to mention her sun and moon are mutable signs as well, and mutable signs do have a reputation for being extremely violent. So there's that. Her moon is squaring her Neptune, which reinforces this theme of self-victimization. But it also makes me wonder if she's dibbled and dabbled in drugs. Like, If she, and let's be honest, like Hollywood, most people have, you know how those circles get down. A lot of them do. An awful lot of them do. And this is just speculative on my part. So allegedly, I got to say that to protect myself. But the energy signature is there. Now, also, her Mercury is opposing her Mars, which reinforces her being very argumentative, outspoken, just a naturally aggressive person. Like I said, clapbacks on 100. And her just being a natural contrarian. So if things aren't interesting enough, she'll be the type of person to hop in and just get shit started. That's Mercury in opposition to Mars all day. And it makes her super defensive too. Her Venus is in the 4th degree of Scorpio. And I mean, that number 4 deals with entitlement because it's ruled by Uranus. And so that's interesting as well. Also, it deals with things that are like unorthodox, outside of the mainstream. It can also point towards like homosexuality, and she does have lots of themes that do suggest that she's bisexual. Now, and we're going to get into that a little bit later. Now, her Venus is, like I said, the 4th degree of Scorpio, and it deals with her being manipulative. Scorpio Venus individuals can be vengeful and vindictive, jealous, and it also deals with her being rather promiscuous at a young age, which is very interesting because she had her daughter when she was like 16. This placement can also make her very attracted to powerful people and partners as well. And I think it's something to be said for the fact that, like, of all the girls, she's the closest to Shawnee. And to a certain degree, they kind of most of them kiss her ass because she's like, oh, she's the boss or whatever. But there's something to be said for that. It also deals with her attracting unearned income, mainly by the way of partners. And Venus in Scorpio is all about like using other people's money, and they can attract wealth. And of course, it depends on the way it's aspected by other planets. And I don't have her birth time, so the house placement would matter as well. But just in and of itself, Venus in Scorpio can even deal with collecting child support, which is very interesting because sis is known for racking up them child support checks. When she got married to, or were they even married? She got engaged to whoever the baseball player is and had the son with him. Everybody was just like, oh, the child support baby. And I remember she got mad at Wendy Williams when she said it. But it's true. It's true. It can also deal with her collecting other people's money by way of like settlements or insurance settlements and things of that nature. Her Venus in Scorpio can also make her possessive with friends and lovers. And going back to that number 4 being the number of Uranus, and Uranus dealing with entitlement. She can feel entitled to this shit naturally. And she's a Scorpio North Node, so it's like slick her birthright. So whatever. But Venus in Scorpio also produces somebody who is naturally drawn to relationships where monogamy is going to be a problem. Okay? And there could be cheating that goes both ways in the relationship. It also deals with her having love-hate relationships with people, places, and things, and particularly friendships, which makes me think about her relationship with Jen. And this creates a person who is very suspicious, and it also reinforces this theme of bisexuality because Scorpio, just as a sign, is one of those more sexually fluid signs. Now, getting into her aspects, or the way that her Venus is aspected, is squaring her Saturn, which is at the 29th degree of Leo. That hot button, hot damn 29th degree, honey, also known as the crisis degree, aka the anoretic degree. I mean, this spells out all kinds of issues in regards to her relationships. It does point towards her being a professional gold digger, making a career out of collecting money from not only celebrity men, but particularly athletes, because Leo does deal with athletics. It can deal with her having these third party, like love triangles and relationships, high pressure situations dealing with men in relationships. And it does reinforce her dealing with non-faithful men. And all of her friendships and relationships are going to be karmic in nature. Usually meaning like if something is karmic, it's probably going to come with issues. Okay. And it does deal with her overcompensating and projecting even from a low sense of self-esteem. I mean, Saturn in Leo in and of itself, because Saturn does deal with where there's a lack, it deals with somebody who naturally has low self-esteem. Okay, Leo is governed by the sun. The sun is your willpower, your sense of pride, like who you are, your overall identity. Once again, your self-esteem, your will to live, your reasoning for getting out of the bed in the morning. Such a huge blow to your identity or your self-esteem could actually cause one to overcompensate, which is what I feel that she does, especially in negative aspects to her Venus, her Scorpio Venus. She could see other women who maybe even like trigger a sore spot for her, and she'll just project it, because that Venus is Scorpio is naturally very jealous, and things of that nature. So there's that. Her Venus is also conjoined to her Uranus, which kind of highlights that fourth degree, and it reinforces her feeling entitled. And it also actually reinforces this theme of bisexuality too. Like, she could be the type that like dibbles and dabbles with her friend. Like, oh, I'm inviting the girls over for a party, but we'll get a little drunk. I'll eat my friend's pussy and we'll get up the next day like nothing ever happened. That's what she's serving me. It also places a lot of attention on friendship groups, with there being lots of ups and downs in her friendship circles. It can also make her somewhat of a bully in her friendship circles too, and the type of person who goes about it in a very like manipulative, underhanded kind of way, because at the end of the day, that Scorpio energy is all about power. It's about power and how you can keep the upper hand. So there's that. And then I think we already talked about her Mars being in Gemini, 2 modes of operation. It makes her two-faced. That's something I didn't touch on. It can definitely make her two-faced, which you can argue that she's been many times throughout the show. It reinforces her being combative. But I personally don't think she can fight. But typically speaking, Mars in Gemini does make for somebody who got them hands, because Gemini does govern the hands. And then when you add in Mars, which is the planet of war, these people might just pap your ass up. Pop, pop. You know what I'm saying? But, that's just the archetype. But I don't know. Is yet to be determined with Evelyn, to be honest. Now, it does, like I said, make her a contrarian, argumentative. It can also deal with her attracting bisexual men, as well as reinforcing her potentially being into women herself, because Gemini is another one of those sexually fluid signs. And it can point towards her, because Gemini Mars people are very like carefree with their sexuality, and it reinforces this other theme that she has in her chart of just promiscuity, which is why everybody like calls her a hoe, but it is what it is. Like, she could be the type to engage like in threesomes in her relationship too, or just for fun. It also makes her a very high-strung, erratic person with very short attention span, and it does like make her susceptible to racking up a lot of partners, like sexual partners. So there's that. Her Jupiter is in Aries, which deals with her being selfish. It really does highlight sexual promiscuity in the individual. That's just what it is. It also gives one a desire to fight for causes, but it also highlights that sense of combativeness that she has going on, and it can make one very willful. Now, her Jupiter is opposing her Pluto in Libra. I'm tripping. If her Pluto was in Leo, she'd be like 60 or some shit. But anyway, it's opposing her Pluto in Libra, which reinforces her making enemies, number one. Number two, being super combative with her friends. It can point towards her being very combative. I would not be surprised if she actually had like a legal case, a court case. Because, Libra does deal with the court system. So, like, maybe if there's a situation where she has to, like, file a lawsuit, or she's countering a lawsuit being filed on her type of thing. But it can make her super combative, like, with her friends, family, and, like I said, even partners, like, relationship partners. So, yeah, she can make hella enemies that way. This aspect also reinforces her having abusive relationships, which was another interesting thing that we got to see play out following her fallout with Ocho Cinco after he headbutted her. And so, based off of this, as well as other aspects like her sun in opposition to her Mars, that can deal with her having abusive relationships with men as well. But, this reinforces that theme, that energy signature. And it also deals with her just being a rather forceful person. Jupiter deals with situations that are like, that can get out of hand, things that can be like rather excessive. So like excessive force, excessive violence, her forcing even her beliefs, because Jupiter does deal with your beliefs, your philosophies on life, your outlooks, forcing them onto other people. Also, taking it back to her Saturn being at the 29th degree of Leo. Like I said, a lot of karmic relationships surrounding love, men in the entertainment industry. Also, another manifestation of Saturn at the 29th degree of Leo is issues conceiving children, because Leo does deal with kids. So, which is interesting because that was one of her storylines for last season, how she had to do like a lot of in vitro in order to even conceive her most recent child. So that was interesting as well. Now, finally, her Chiron is at the what degree? Her Chiron is at the 23rd degree of Aries. And Chiron is an asteroid, but some consider it like a smaller planet. But it does encompass physical, emotional, and psychological wounds, as well as parts of your personality that is relentless. And depending on what sign it's in and how it's aspected, it can point towards a fucking psychopath. And with her Chiron in Aries, this number one definitely deals with her being, it reinforces this theme of her being combative and like just having a trigger hair temper, being super impulsive, being somebody who is like just a fighter, naturally like a fighter. However, because it also deals with physical wounds, Aries governs the head. So this definitely deals with her getting headbutted by Ocho Cinco. And it could point towards her temperament coming back to bite her and really having a negative impact on her reputation, especially with it making an opposition to her midheaven. So yeah, there's that. And then finally, I want to end this video on her lunar node placements, with Evelyn being a Taurus South node, okay, Scorpio North node. She naturally, first of all, she's naturally materialistic. Okay, that's that Taurus South node. But she has a karmic duty to transcend the status quo and to find some type of more meaningful purpose in life, really extraordinary purpose in life. Which is why I say, or I said earlier in the video, to a certain degree, she's like that entitlement and her racking up this money from men and whatever. Like it's slick her birthright. It's slick her birthright because she comes from a past life of being even possibly a workaholic, somebody who followed the rules. And in this lifetime, she can afford to break some. She can afford to be, like I said, extraordinary in her approach. And her Scorpio South, her Scorpio North node makes her somebody who can like obtain a lot of power in this lifetime as well. So yeah, that concludes my reading on Miss Evelyn Lozada. Okay, Y'all drop down in the comment section below with any comments, questions, concerns, as well as any suggestions you may have for future readings. And as always, make sure you practice unconditional self-love so that you can love others. And until the next video, I holla.